Hi, teammates. This is Sean J. McCall, and I am your host for the Eurostep, where, yeah, we got some interesting stories going on, and I hope you're along for the ride. Before we start, and before I bring in my guest, please make sure that you look at the bottom of your screen where the comment section is. You can ask any question you'd like during the live. If you write it down there, then everyone in the chat will see it. If you put it in the question mark where the speech bubble is on the right side, then only I see it. But I check that as well to make sure I can get some questions in. Yeah, actually, I want to get started. No further ado. Benedikt Turudic is my guest for tonight for this episode. He is born to Croatian parents, but is born and raised in Germany. He's a pro hooper for the team where I live, the basketball Löwen Braunschweig, and I'm really excited to have him on. I think he's got a really interesting story, and especially for you European players, you young ones, I think he'll give some good insights to what it takes to be a pro, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Yeah, let me just get him in right now before I run my mouth. See if it works right away. Doesn't seem to be. There we go. Benedikt,
I hope you can see me and hear me.
I see you fine. Thank you for coming on, man. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. So before we start, you guys got a big win yesterday, a really huge win for the team and for your chances to stay in the league. How you feeling?
I feel great. It was a huge win, and was really excited about it. It was going through a rough season with a lot of injuries and all these things. It's really good to have this win and being much closer to staying in the league.
You are now two games ahead of Frankfurt. Not Braunschweig. Bayreuth is already demoted, and you're 2 games ahead of Frankfurt. So with 3 games left, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you really need just like one more win, and but of course you're trying to win every game. I know that. But we're going to get into the sports stuff in a minute. So
Yeah.
Anyway, basically, speak your piece, man. You go. If I ask you a question, just talk and tell your truth. Don't think you're pressured for time or something like that. Whatever kind of answer you throw out there is what you throw out there, all right?
Great. All
right. So let's get started. You played various sports growing up. What'd you play? Handball?
Yeah, basically I tried everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was back then. It was the goal for my family, or basically not the goal. It was my dad came to us. We was kind of in a rough neighborhood, and he said, "I don't want you guys in the streets. I want you to do something. You can choose whatever it is." My dad played basketball. I would say semi-professional in university back in Bosnia.
Right.
So for him was like, do whatever you want. So we came to basketball. My brother was going there. It was MTV Gießen back then.
Mm-hmm.
And basically at this age, I was doing everything my brother did. So I
Your brother
bad.
Older.
Yeah, my brother is 3 years older. So for me, it was like, I'm gonna try basketball. It was pretty good. But then I tried tennis. I tried handball. I tried soccer. But everything of these was just one practice, just seeing what it is. But I stick to basketball, and I'm pretty happy with it.
What was the reason you think you stayed with basketball?
I think it was first of all, the game was great for me because I don't know. First of all, tennis, for example, it's an individual sport, and I like team sports. So for me, it was like, okay, I want to do something with a team. And soccer was, I would kind of say, it's a little bit too slow. Like you play 90 minutes for 0-0. It was not really something I would love to. So that's why basketball was there. It's a game that can change any second, any minute. The guys over there were great. And of course, through my brother. So my brother was there. He was good at basketball. So I was just doing what he was doing. And luckily, thank God, I was also good at it. And now I'm here where I am.
I mean, you mentioned earlier that you were kind of like living in the hood of Gießen. I didn't know that there was a hood in Gießen.
I would not say it's the hood. You cannot say it's a hood. It's just, you know, you live in a part where things can change pretty quick. So you can be normal, you can have a normal way, but you can also go through different things and be in a different direction. So that's why I was always, okay, do something, I don't know, even if it's just playing an instrument or something, which I also tried, but at the end I stick to basketball.
So your parents are both Croatian, right?
Exactly.
And but you were born and raised here. So how did that influence your how you were brought up sports wise with Croatian parents, and you know the cultural things? You're Croatian, but you're living in Germany, speaking the language, things like that. How was that? How did that influence you growing up?
I think first of all, it was great speaking immediately 2 languages, which was pretty easy for me then to catch up with English too, because I'm already learning languages. And I think it was pretty good for me having the more mindsets, more way of livings, which comes from the Croatian side, but living in Germany. So through being Croatian, I was also able to be with Croatian people, or basically people from the Balkan, learn how they play, how they practice, and then bringing this into the German system. And at this time where I started basketball, the Yugoslavian school, or basically a lot of Yugoslavian coaches were in Germany. So I think it was a great thing for me to be able to do it through multiple languages and nationalities.
Like you mentioned the fact that back then when you were coming up, there were a lot of Balkan coaches. There was a lot of influence.
Exactly.
Do you find yourself, even though you've had a lot of different coaches, do you find yourself kind of, or do you feel like yourself that you are kind of like a typical Balkan player, or would you consider yourself more like European?
I think it's a mix from everything. What I take a lot is the mindset, the way of working, taking the things how as serious as possible, and this is like the Balkan situation, which I think is pretty familiar to everybody who plays, especially overseas, because I think in every country somebody is Balkan, which is also pretty rough school, pretty
old
rough
school, yeah.
teaching, old school, which I think I can fit a lot. But I think in what I try is now, for example, we got a Spanish coach. Before this, we had an American coach with Pete Strobel. I was in Göttingen, it was a Belgian coach. So I've tried to take from every school or every system the best, so I can take it to my game.
Mm-hmm. So you were pretty young. I mean, you started in Giesen's program, and then at some point you went to Cedevita Zagreb.
Yes.
First of all, how did that come about that you left home to go to Zagreb? And second of all, was it a difficult move for you to make being so young? How old were you?
I was 17. The thing was, at this time I was in Gießen, and I was supposed to play NBBL,
right,
which through some other circumstances didn't work really out. And I played in Gießen the Regionalliga team and under 18 Oberliga.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a pretty good year over there. I didn't play NBBL. And at this time, the summer before I was supposed to play NBBL, my brother was at Cedevita Zagreb and had a tryout for this team that didn't really go well for him. And my dad got birthday in the beginning of January. At this time, the GM from Cedevita, which is Matej Mamić, reached out to my dad and said, "Happy birthday, bring me your youngest son." And at the beginning, it was like my dad took it more as a joke, like, all right, you know that I got a youngest son. And then, I don't know, a day later or so, he called, tried to arrange that I just come for a tryout to come to see the organization. And so we followed. They booked me a plane ticket. I flew over, checked everything out. I liked it. The coach liked me. I liked the organization, the guys over there. And so we decided that I will go in this summer to Croatia, which was for me pretty easy to decide because the organization was really, really well organized perfectly for kids in my age, for younger players, for developing. So it was pretty easy for me to go. For my parents, of course, it was pretty hard to let their son go. but the thing was I was not going in a country that I don't know.
Right.
So I
Right.
know the culture. I speak fluently Croatian, so it was perfect for me. That's why it was, of course, hard to leave basketball, but to leave Gießen and my hometown and everything. But basketball-wise, in the situation, I think it was the best for me, and that's why I did it.
But were you like excited when you got there? Like, wow, this is like kind of like a dream.
Of course, it was like different already when I just came there to see how everything is. 17 years old, you get an apartment. The gym they had at this time, I think, with Barcelona, the best practice facility that you can imagine is 3.5 courts. You got a huge weight room in there. They got multiple locker rooms. I don't know. It was like you going really to a huge thing, and it was so. I was never really in this situation. I was like, okay, I'm a be a pro or something. It was just I'm playing basketball. I'm good at it. I like it. I'm gonna
Mhm.
stick to it. And at this time it was for me. Okay, now it's starting. I'm leaving home. It's about to be professional, and this is the first step.
Was that the moment, or was that the point in your then young career where you thought, okay, actually, I want to do this. I want to be a pro.
Exactly. Especially after getting a call from at this time EuroLeague team, going into their system, seeing things in me, telling me things that I never saw or didn't see it that way, that I'm really bringing something to a team, that I'm making guys better, that I'm able to come up and play on a high level, which is like I'm there, and you see how much is also going work behind the scenes, organizing school. They organize our food, so they invest a lot in us. You get an apartment, there was something who guys who were taking care of us. You get gear for free. You have access to a gym 24/7. Whenever you want to work out, you can work out. Whatever you need is basically there, just for you to not worry about nothing else but basketball. And then
Crazy.
it was like, okay, it's professional. I can be professional. Now it's on me, put the work in, and I can have success with it.
And when you explain now everything that they put into investment, you have both sides. You had that part, and you also know what it's like to grow up and go through the system in Germany as well. What would you say is one of the main differences why it works there, but maybe not so much here? It's gotten better here for the youth
Yeah.
programs across Germany in the last 10, 15 years, but it's still not at a level from other countries. So what do you think is one of those differences that makes it different there than here?
I think it's a lot that you how much you value what you're trying to get, basically. So over there, it's like in other countries, I don't know, you see it also in the States. They put so much into it also from the young age, and I think that they really try to find the talent. They really try to make you better. And I think over here it's a lot about this amateur sport. I'm going there to play a little bit, I'm meeting my friends and stuff like this. And I think that it's much more serious, and they put much more here. Like I said, I don't know, when I was in Gießen, when I was a kid, we had to fight to get a gym. We had to fight to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is much easier in countries like this. And I don't know if it's because of the soccer, maybe. You know, soccer is a lot more watched and everything. But I think it comes just of we want to produce something, we want to build something, and I think that the country at itself or other countries at itself see themselves as sports countries.
Right.
That's what I put a lot into
Right.
it. You
Mhm.
know, you can see also, I don't know, you see the States, you see all the
Spain.
Yugoslavia, Spain, Lithuania.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like this is countries where a lot of sports is coming from. So that's why they invest from the young age. And that is like a thing with Željko Obradović. I remember
Gotcha.
an interview with Željko Obradović where he says, you need to invest in the kids so you can have the kids later when they grow up. So you need to put a coach that gets enough money to live.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
bring him, you need to give the kids situations. And the thing is, like, especially at this age, the kids, they don't need much. You give them a ball, a
Yeah.
jersey, maybe a pair of shoes, free water, and they
Yeah.
will be in the gym
All
all day.
day. Right.
And then you need to put somebody on the side from the kids, giving him a decent job, so enough money for him to live, so he's motivated to teach your kids to develop all these things. And I think this is the biggest part which is missing in Germany, because when you hear that people are here, I don't know, making 200 euros a month just to do it after their job.
Right.
Now you imagine, I don't know, there's somebody, you know it, working 9 to 5. Now he needs to be motivated to go and teach the kids things. Maybe a kid don't understand a crossover or pass from the first practice, so both of them get frustrated. So I think there's a lot this investment into all these things.
I remember when I did my A license in Germany. For those of you that don't know, in Germany there's different levels of coaching licenses, and the A level is the top. And when I was doing my A level, one thing that I was talking to another coach about was the fact that a club should put their A level coaches in the youth.
Exactly.
You have to put your best coaches in the youth.
Yeah.
Eventually, that A level coach might want to coach Bundesliga or something like that. But I think for the experience, for coaching wise and just empathy on how to coach kids, things like that. And we were talking about that. And we had a really long discussion about that, because the guy said, "Hey, I work to be an A level coach. I'm not going down there to coach kids for 450 euros a month. Like I think
this is exactly money-wise. It's you're doing all these things to make a lot of money, of course. But I think the approach is wrong with not trying to do it with the kids. But if you cannot teach a kid to dribble with his left hand, how are you going to teach a pro run this play in the last second to win a game?
Right.
So that's why I'm totally agree with you. And I think there's a lot of things, which is also a thing. I don't know. For example, in Spain, you need to go through a thing to coach on the highest level. I think it needs like 10 years. So you put a lot in. So you work with kids, you work with schools, you work with people who never played basketball before. And I think this is the biggest thing that takes you to be maybe a great coach, which of course maybe you don't need to do it, but I think that
it helps.
It helps a lot. It helps a lot also from the human side, knowing what you're doing, how a word can affect a negative word can bring sometimes positive. A positive word can bring sometimes negative. So knowing how to manage people and controlling and doing a lot of things, I think this is the best way to do it.
So after you left Zagreb, you then come back to Germany, to Alba Berlin.
Exactly.
How did that happen, that you left there to go to Alba?
So the thing was, at this time they offered me a long-term contract in Zagreb. The problem at this time for me, not the problem, but the way of thinking, was in Croatia at this time was the youth under 18. So once you're done with that, either you're pro or you're not. So in Germany, like everybody, basically the people in Germany know, NBBL under 19. So I had 1 more year of youth, 1 more year being basically a kid, which I wanted to use. So that's why I went to Berlin, played this 1 more year of NBBL, and then taking the step to being a pro.
Smart. How did the contact come to Berlin? Did they contact you, or were you looking for a new team, or how did that come about?
So before I went to Televita, I was already on a tryout for a couple of days with Alba Berlin. At this time, I decided myself to go to Televita. So that's why the contact was still there, and they reached out again to me and tried to get there. This time also Moritz Wagner went to the college, so they was looking for somebody like me. So I just went another time over there, spent a couple of days, and then decided I was going to sign.
Okay. How long were you in Berlin?
Also 1 year.
1 year. So what happened after that 1 year that you left? Before we get to that, you leaving Berlin, I want to talk about the under 18 German national team. You played with the national team in the European Championships in Greece, in the Euro Championships in Greece, right? In Greece?
Yes.
So at some point you have to choose, right?
Right.
Your homeland, your home country where your parents are from, or the system where you grew up, and you then chose to put on the uniform for for the German national team. Was that a difficult decision?
The thing was like this. It was not 100% only my decision. So when you grow up and go through the whole system of one country, and before you're 18, you leave this country.
Right.
You need to sign a paper which says that the country where you grew up and went through the system got right for you.
Okay.
So I had to sign a paper for FIBA. If
Right.
Germany wants me in the national team, they have the right to take me.
Right.
And at this time, I signed it because national team was never really a topic for me. So I went there, and after in the season of Cedevita Zagreb, I was going on a tournament in China, which was an unofficial tournament. I played for Croatia. So I went there, we played this, and after this, the coaches reached out to me and wanted me for the European Championship for the under 18 in Croatia. And I went to the bigger roster for the under 19 World Cup for Croatia. And I spent there the first 2 days, and they put me on the list, sent it to FIBA, and then FIBA said, hold on, before you do this, Germany got the right. So Germany took the right, and I went to play for Germany.
I mean, you don't hear about stuff like that very often, especially with people with dual nationalities and how they come to these decisions on what national team to play. I think that's pretty cool. So when you go to the under 18s with Germany, how was that feeling? Because you just spent the year in Zagreb. I can imagine there were a little bit mixed feelings.
Yeah, like you said, it was mixed feelings because I feel like I'm Croatian, but I grew up and live in Germany, so there's still a German side for me, which I love also that it is like this. I went there, I was super excited. It was a great feeling because at the end of the day, I was never even on a map from a 50 guys roster for Germany. When I was, I don't know, I was 14 or something, I was not even making it to the state, to Hessen. So they told me, yeah, I'm on the waiting list to be in the 12th roster of Hessen, which is like a super small region. And I was like, okay, like that's why I also signed the paper also without thinking, because I was never on the map. When he told me, yeah, we need to talk about national team, I told him, no, we don't have to talk. Before I signed into Cedevita, he said, why not? I said, because I've never been on nothing.
It's not going to be an issue.
Yeah. So
wrong.
Exactly. So that's why when I was sitting in the plane and flying, I was first going to Gießen. We was meeting there in Heidelberg at the Olympiastützpunkt. It was a great feeling. You come there, you get your gear. It was a nice feeling because it was everything the first time for me. All the guys who've been there with me been through this since
they knew
14.
each other.
Yeah. So I knew the guys. We played against each other, I don't know, in the youth or something. But I knew him through the internet. I never saw nobody live. So it was a great feeling. And going through all this preparation stuff, we was flying to Greece to play twice against Greece. We was in a big gym in Athens. You go in there, the gym got no end. You're looking up like the stands is crazy. We went to a tournament in Lyon where we played against Turkey and France. I think it was, I will lie to you, I think it was Lithuania, but I'm not 100% sure. So you going through all these things, and it's a huge thing. You represent your country. So for me, it was super, super, super exciting. Also going to the European Championship, we walk in there. The gyms were always full. It was a nice experience and a big plus for me.
What was it like? Do you remember your first bucket with the national team?
In a non-official game, yes. In the official game, I could not really tell because in the
tell me non-official, because for me, if you got the uniform on, that's official. So what was your first bucket?
It was actually a dunk, which was pretty nice for me because we played at this time was Quakenbrück, and we played two basic preseason, how you call this, preparation games against Turkey. And we had one in and bound play. It was a baseline out of bounds, and it was basically like this typical triangle that everybody's playing. And excuse me,
pick the back pick the big guy, shooter comes off.
Yeah, and I had a great back screen from Tibor Taraš, and this worked a couple times in practice. And I was like, okay, it works in practice because we are working for this, but it's not going to happen in the game. All of a sudden, I get the ball in my hands, and I'm hanging on the rim.
Those are the first time doing stuff like that, your first Bundesliga bucket, your first national team bucket, you'll never forget those.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to you leaving Berlin.
Yeah.
What was the decision for you to leave Berlin and then go to Mitteldeutsche Basket?
So it was at this time, I had guys on my positions. They are still in Berlin. So it are guys who are there since they're like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So I always knew whatever I do, they will always get the chance before me, which is also fair. So for me, I was thinking, yeah, exactly. So I was like, why not trying something else? And maybe trying a little bit lower than at this time, the EuroLeague team. Basically, the year after this, the EuroLeague was closed. So they go, and I think they played after this, they play Eurocup. So that's why at this time, with the agent, it was Ademola Okulaja and Milan Nikolic. We were sitting together, and they said the best decision is go to NBC and play Pro A. So this was the move, and I'm pretty happy with it. We went there, and yeah, this was the reason.
I mean, what would you say to another young player in that position? Because of course, on the one side, is Alba Berlin, right? If you're in Germany, you want to play for Alba Berlin, Bayern Munich.
Exactly.
Those are top teams, right? So on the one hand, you're on their roster, you're playing in their system, you're getting good coaching, you're sometimes thrown into practice with the professionals, things like that. So it's you can definitely improve, but on the other side, you want to play too, right? By playing is probably the best thing for your development. What would you say to another young European guy that's thinking about, okay, should I stay or should I leave? Of course, everyone has different reasons for staying and leaving, but it worked out for you, but it might not work out for someone else. What are the thoughts that went through your head that you can offer to someone else?
I think the first thing is that no matter what age you are, you need to be pretty realistic with yourself. Not listening too much about other people, because especially at this age, and especially in Germany, if they want you, they make you bigger than you are. So for me, it was like, I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I need to do to get to this level. So for me, it was like, I will go in a good system in Pro A, and the team was already built to move up immediately because they just moved down. And when they called me, I went there also for a tryout, looked everything, and I was pretty lucky because at this time, Robin Mays, who also plays with me, had a pretty close friend, which is now one of my closest friends, Dominic Johnson, who also was here in Braunschweig. He was there. And also at this tryout, he was there as a player to talk to the guys, whatever. And he talked to me, and I knew that this was the plan for me to work myself through the Pro A in the BBL. So you need, as a young player, you should know what you are capable of. And even if somebody tells you you cannot or you can, you need to know if you can or cannot. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to a lower level. I know that I will fight myself through and be able to play in the BBL. And I'm taking this risk with going to the Pro A. Maybe the season goes bad and I'll end up staying in the Pro A. But I'll take the risk, and I believe in the system and I believe in myself that we will make it. So it's really, really important that for the younger players that they know who they are, what they are, and what they're capable of. And even if somebody's saying you can do it or you are not, there were people telling me next year I will do these and these numbers and I will go to the NBA draft. And I knew it's not going to happen. Like, you need to be realistic at this point. So for me, I knew that this was the right way for me. Maybe I could also stay in Berlin and go through different ways. But yeah, I knew that I will go to Pro A, be there, fight for any minute. They basically told me I'm starting on minus 10 minutes. And I'm also a person, if you challenge me, I'm taking a challenge.
So sometimes it's not a bad thing to take a step back to then take steps forward.
Exactly.
But of course you have to, I think you did a good, you mentioned something really important, that you have to know what you're going into as well. So you like you said, NBC at that point was already built to move back up. They were expected to move back up. So technically it was like one long preseason in the Pro A for them to then move back up. And if you're on that team, of course, when they move back up, you have a chance to develop and also get back into the BBL and things like that. I think that's really important. How long were you in NBC? 4 years?
Yes, I ended up being 4 years. I signed my first contract was 2+1 with the option on the team side. And after the 2 years, so we moved up in the BBL. I had some BBL games, and then they wanted to keep me, so I stayed, which was also good. At this time, I was in my second year, so which was our first BBL year. I had like around 10 games in the Regionalliga 1, and this team was also built to move up, and we did. We promoted to Pro B, and then in my third year, I played Pro B and BBL, which was perfect. And then my fourth year was basically only BBL, but this was the Corona year, so we finished in March. But it was great. Yeah, it was great for me going to this. First of all, being on a team where you don't have too much responsibility to move up in BBL, and then the year after to be the responsible guy with, not, of course, some other dudes, but I was one of the main guys to go up from Regionalliga to Pro B, and it was not like right now that you go through playoffs. You got to be first, right. And if you're not first, you're not moving up.
Right.
And we had a pretty good team. We had a great season right there at this time, so that's why we was able to go to Pro B. And after this, I had also a successful season in Pro B, mixed with the BBL, and it was pretty lucky for me. I mean, I played a little bit too much, but we had injuries in the BBL. First was the starting center getting injured. Right after this, the other centers. So I had already in BBL a lot of minutes, and then playing 30+ minutes in Pro B. So at this young age, I was getting a lot of playing time.
For those of you that don't know the German system, so the BBL is the first league, Pro A is the second league, Pro B is the third league. So in some instances, especially with younger players, if they have a first league team and they have a Regionalliga team, which is in the fourth league, that's a really good thing for them to get a lot of minutes to play as like one of the main players in the lower league, and then work for their minutes in the professional league. And it's very rare. It's not so many teams that have a first league team and then a Pro B team, a third league team, and that's really ideal for a young player. I mean, I remember here in Braunschweig when I was working here, we had the Pro B as well, and like DJ was on that team, and that was a really good thing where they could really be those guys. Those young German guys there was no American. They could just play free, and without looking at the bench like, oh, I made a mistake, I got to go out. American is coming in to take my place. So that's a really good situation for those players, those young players, to have those two teams where they can be responsible on one end and pay their dues on the next level. So after you went through a little bit of not craziness, but when you left NBC and then ended up going to
exactly.
So
I'm gonna take you to the summer.
Okay, tell me what happened. Tell me what happened.
So I was in NBC, and we went through a pretty rough year at this time. We lost a lot of games, and then I was injured, and I wanted to prove to the coach that I can play, because I was at this time not getting a lot of minutes. So I played through the injury, was not so smart. Basically, at this time, I was lucky that Corona hit, because I'm a guy, I go through pain, I go through injuries, which is not too smart to do, but this is just me in my head at this time. So I was pretty lucky. Yeah, exactly.
That Croatian, I know, I got some really good Croatian friends. I know what it is. I got you. I feel you.
So that's why it was pretty good for me that Corona hit at this time, especially like for the first month, because I can actually recover my body. And I was going through a rough time at this time in Weissenfels, being away from the family, injured, we not winning. So for me, it was like, okay, I left home pretty early, and I focused just to sign with Gießen. And there was some talks, and there was everything, and there was also some talks with other teams, but I wanted to sign with Gießen. At this time, it was not so smart for me, because I just focused on this. And at the end, it was already August. A lot of teams didn't know what's going on with their money. They tried to sign people cheap, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
They gave a lot of younger
Yeah.
people and a lot of other not proven guys in the league chances, which I liked a lot. But I focused only on Gießen, and then the deal with Gießen disappeared. So I was there in August, and I had no team. So I was like, okay, I was talking then with my agent at this time was Mate Mamic. I think you remember him from Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said to him, okay, I'm gonna go to Croatia right now. I'm gonna spend some time with my family. I'm gonna work out, and I'm getting ready to sign somewhere in November, December, something like this when the first changes happen. So he said, okay, we do it that way. We arranged something, working out in Croatia, being with my family. And I just landed in Croatia, and I got the call. Göttingen needs somebody, but they cannot offer much money. And for now, it's only for 3 months with the option to sign until the end of the year. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. It's no problem. I'm going to prove him that I can stay. So I came there. It was pretty good. The coach also told me he likes me. He wants to keep me. I'm here for a reason. And then at this time, after the 3 months, which was like middle of November, the coach called me and said, hey, we need to make some more changes in the team. So we ain't got no money to keep you. So I was like, okay, it's fair enough. I knew what I'm facing. So I signed like this, the contract. They had the option to pull it. So they did. At this time, I was again without a job, which was not a problem for me to be without a job. It was just a problem that it's Corona. I cannot use public gyms. I cannot go to a regular gym. I need to be tested. How you call it, curfew. I need to be at home at 10 o'clock. So it was pretty tough for me. And actually now somebody just entered the live. It's physio and training. This is my friend Lucas Lai, who helped me at this time a lot. He's my physio and personal trainer through a lot of years. And I went to Gießen, and I could work out at his place. And I was trying to get a gym. And I was successful for the first 2 weeks, being before Gießen, always in the gym, before the 46ers came in. And
were you sneaking? Did you have a key? Were you sneaking in there?
I knew the how you call it, the housekeeper, the housemaster.
Yeah.
I knew him, so he told me, all right, you can come in at 7 o'clock. And I was like, okay, 7 at night. He said, no, 7 in the morning. So,
hey, got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, the first week it was 7. The second week was 6:30, but I took it. And then I had the chance, or basically I asked Rolf Scholz, who was at this time the coach for the Pro B team. And I told him, listen, I'm struggling with finding where I can practice. Can I practice with you guys? And he said, of course. He was my coach in JBBL. So I was able to work out at Lucas' place, body-wise, doing strength, conditioning, treatments, and everything. And then I was able to work out with the Pro B team at this time, which I did. And it was great for me just being at home, spending time with family, and working out in a familiar situation. I was there for a couple of weeks. And then I would say middle of December, Fechter called me and said they want somebody to come in to practice. Would I be willing to do it? Be like for a week or two there, and then they would decide if they sign me or not. So I did, and at this time was Coach Thomas Pesch. He was a head coach there with Derek Allen as assistant. And I worked out with them for 2 weeks. And at the end, they wanted to offer, but it was not something that I would say, okay, I want to go. And
it's a business.
And then they got really crazy. Then Hamburg called me right at this day and said, listen, we need to play on your position. Come in. We want to see if you're ready. If you're ready, we sign you. I was like, okay. I hopped in the car from Fechter to Hamburg. I arrived in Hamburg. I practiced for 3 days. And I liked it. It was great. This time was Petro Kajas the coach, and everything was fine. Everything was going good. After 3 days, they told me we are ready to make an offer. And I was like, okay, perfect. And the team had off at this day. Well, I think it was a Thursday. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym in the morning. I'm going to do my workout and everything. And then at night, I can call my family and say, hey, it's happening. And at night, nothing happened. And they decided to sign somebody else. And then I was there again with no club. So I packed my things and I went back to Gießen. Funny, at this time, my dad exactly at this time had birthday. And it was the first time since I'm 17 that I was at home at my dad's birthday. So it was good. So I was there, and it was beginning of January again. And a day later, I get a call from my agent and say, hey, NBC wants you back. We got some other offers, but I think this will be our best option. And I was like, okay. I'm calling with the GM and the coach at this time, GM Martin Geisler, and this time Silvano Poropat, the coach, which I both know really well. So we talked, and it was like, hey, we cannot offer you too much. You know, Corona, we can offer you 1 month, and then we see how the season goes. And I was at this point where I really need to do something because guys would get signed, and the only reason why they didn't pick me is because I didn't play. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And we did it, and it was an option on both sides. And I arrived in Weissenfels. 3 days later, we played in Braunschweig. So I practiced with the guys twice. And it came out. I had a great game. I think I scored like 22, 23 points or something. We won the game. And after this, we had a pretty rough time again. We didn't win too much. And 2 days before my first month, where I'm able to pull the auction, expires with NBC, I get a call from Braunschweig. They want to sign me for the rest of the season plus 2 more years. And then it was like, I'm a super religious person. I'm a believer. And for me, it was like, okay, this was the way I was supposed to take to come to a good situation. So I ended up signing in Braunschweig, and the rest was history.
I mean, that's a really crazy story, man. Yeah. And especially as a young guy, you know, you go through stuff like that, and you're just like, geez. But now let's talk about Braunschweig. So you come to Braunschweig, and here the special thing about Braunschweig is they've got the last couple of years, they've got a philosophy, a team philosophy that they want to develop young German talent. On the one side, it's great because I'm a total believer in playing your Germans and developing young players. I also coach young players, things like that. So I know how important that is. On the one hand, it's like great. Like not a lot of teams are really going strictly that line. But on the other side, there's a danger. What you guys had this year, of course, there were injuries too. It wasn't just because you were playing only young Germans, but where you're in danger of playing a lot of young guys that don't have a whole lot of experience, and you end up at the bottom of the table or towards the bottom of the table. So in the last couple of years, it's kind of been up and down like that here in Braunschweig. What do you think about that philosophy that Braunschweig is going on right now? You, of course, as a younger guy when you first got here, you're a little bit older now, more experienced. But what do you think about the concept that Braunschweig is going through at the moment?
I think, first of all, this started when Dennis took over the club, Dennis Schroeder, which I'm really thankful for him, because if he wouldn't be there, I think I would not sign here because I would not get a chance. Basically, it was also a huge risk for Braunschweig signing me, going from just playing a little bit, then not being nowhere, then just playing again a little bit, and they signed me, so they also took a risk. And this is a thing with the system here that is taking risky situations, I would say. For example, you got the Tischler brothers who didn't play a whole year. We signed them, and they are successful over here. You have guys, for example, Sananda Flu, which is really funny because we played the year, actually my first year when we played in Berlin, Alba Berlin didn't know who Sananda Flu is, and he's a Berlin kid. So it's a huge stage that is given, and I understand that not every club can do it, but I think it's going back to this what we started the conversation with, is how much you invest in yourself and yourself. So I think that much more clubs should take a couple % of this what we're doing here, just to invest a little bit more in their youth, in their progress, because all these kids, all these guys you sign from different countries or different continents, they are coming from somewhere. So why somebody else invested more than you, so that you need to sign these guys? Why you don't invest from the beginning so you got your own players growing? So that's why this is for me the best program in Germany for those things that are, let's say, Alba Berlin is doing also a lot of this, but it's a totally another level, totally another money situation too. So for normal club, they can one year play for the playoffs, one year playing for moving down, or basically staying in the league. This is the best you can do. First of all, you can save money. Of course, you take the risk, but you save money with growing your own players, and then maybe they get to another stage through your program, which is great. So I think it's a great situation. It's a great thing in Germany, and a lot of other teams who are just relying on foreigners should take a little bit more and focus a little bit more on the German youth, on the German progress, because we got so much talent, so many kids. And it's sad that people need to leave their club where they grew up because they're getting somewhere else a little bit more. And that should not happen.
Yeah. I mean, I also coached in Germany in pretty much every level. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, it's of course, on the one side, you're investing in talent. And like you mentioned, you're also saving money because, of course, if you put that money into a young German guy, you don't have to pay as much for an American, or you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's more expensive to hire an American or a British guy or whatever because of taxes. A lot of different reasons. But the one cool thing I found this year, that even though you guys were up and down, it took you guys a long time to get your first home win. The support from the fans was really good, and I think there's when you're a top team, the fans are going to come because they want to be with the top team. But if you're a bottom team, it's still actually quite exciting because you don't want your team to move down and you want to see them succeed. So a lot more people come to the bottom teams, what's a crazy phenomenon. The house is packed when it's a bottom team. But those teams like in the middle, it's terrible for them because there's no excitement. Are they going to make the playoffs or not? Yeah, but if you're a ninth place team, nobody's interested because you're not making the playoffs. But if you're a 16th, 17th, 18th place team, those are real battles because you have to fight every game to stay in the league.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the cool thing about this year, coming to the gym and seeing a lot of people in the gym. And I can only go back to when I was a Bundesliga player, and I remember when I was in Oldenburg playing here in the first round of the playoffs, and everybody was the whole gym was whited out. Everybody had on white T-shirts and stuff, and that was a pretty cool atmosphere. And that's what it's kind of like coming back to right now. I think it's a cool thing. But of course, you also during the course of the season you had a lot of injuries. You had to bring over some more Americans, what probably wasn't planned on in the beginning. Was it difficult for you German guys that at some point the club says, hey, okay, we need to bring in a couple guys, so that means some of you might not play or not play as much? How was that communicated to you guys, if it was communicated at all? Or did you see the need as well and thought, okay, we want to succeed, we want to stay in the league, if we need some reinforcements, that's okay?
Yeah. First of all, I want to just put one thing for you with the filled gyms, where I need to put a huge shout out to Braunschweig as a city. I think that the city understood the concept we are doing, the program, and they identify with this situation. That's why through the whole season, the gym was packed, which I love. They see what we are doing. They see how much we are working. So this is also a big reason why the gym is full. And I think you can fill gyms with this more than with playing somewhere in between and just bringing every year other guys. And with the situation with us, I think it was pretty obvious that it was needed. And the guys knew it too. We had a lot of injuries. I think everybody but Robin this year was at least one time injured, which was, I'm pretty happy for Robin that he goes through a situation that he's not injured. But we had Andre at the beginning leaving, so we knew we need to replace him somehow. We had Braden getting injured, that's why we knew we need to replace him somehow. And then we had a situation where we had on the 4 position Luke and Sonny, and the club took the risk, giving them a chance. And I think at this time we just needed a little bit more help because I was also injured. Jilson was injured, so we had to bring somebody who can play the 4 and the 5, which was Dustin. So I think it was pretty obvious that we need somebody, and I think everybody knew why we are bringing somebody in. Of course, when new players are coming in, you can be in games where you play a little bit less. But I think what what should happen, and I think it happened, is somebody new is coming in, and you immediately have a new fire. It's like, okay, you are not taking my spot. So that's why also bringing in guys is not always a negative situation for the team, and which was also really positive for us, the way they picked the players, because it's really important what character you bring in, what personality you bring in, and they did a pretty good job with this, and the guys came in, they fitted immediately perfect. In the locker room was great, on the court was great, off the court was great, so I think we didn't have too much problems with the new guys.
Good. So if I'm correct, you're co-captain with Robin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How does that feel? You're 26 years old, right? How does it feel to be a German guy, a German young guy? You've got your best years ahead of you. You're co-captain with another German guy that you know very well, which is very rare in German basketball.
It is.
How does that make you feel?
It is very rare, because it's not just that we are two German guys in the system. I know Robin since I'm probably like 6 years old, because he played with my brother. So first of all, being with somebody on the team that you know your whole life, and then being a captain with him is pretty rare, and it's pretty exciting for both of us. It's a huge honor. It's a great feedback from the organization. And it's just a great thing being able to have this role in the team with him. Also, in last year was the same. When he was injured, it was funny, because we were actually like a coach and a co-coach. Robin was injured; he was not there, so I called him after every practice, told him how the practice went, how the guys feel, how everything is going. I was the guy who was telling the guys how Robin is doing, how his rehab is going, and everything. So it's pretty fun and exciting, and we just enjoying it.
I've only got a couple more questions for you. I got a teammate question. Someone asked, who was that? Euro. The question is gone. Just a second, or maybe it's not. Yeah. Eurostep official. Great name, by the way. What player is the hardest to defend in the BBL, in your opinion?
It's a tough question. I think we can maybe go a little bit through the positions. For me, the toughest, what I remember, was at my younger age, he's not playing the BBL no more, was Landry Noko. When he was in Berlin, it was super, super tough. Right now, it's Luke Sigma. He's really, really high on this. It's not that you stopping him from scoring. It's somebody because you take away his scoring, and then he gets 10 assists. You take away the assists, he gets 15 rebounds. So this is to shut down somebody completely. And I think also this year, TJ Short, who's doing great things. So it's really tough. There's many guys who's doing this. For me, also personally, really, really tough to defend was Rashid Mahabasic. So there's many guys. You can always shut down one or two things, but on those guys, the third thing is super hard.
Yeah. So your contract should be over at the end of this season, if I'm not
exactly.
Okay, yeah. I know you can't go into negotiation or things like that, but let's just throw it out there. Would you like to return to Braunschweig?
Oh, I am 100%. Okay. It's, for me here, it's a great situation. I love the club. I love the city. So if there is a chance to stay here, I would definitely be interested.
Okay, we all know it's a business, and everybody has to look out for their own interests, because basketball players have a very short shelf life. But I think it's also a good thing. I think you identify with the crowd. I think you identify with the city. The people like you here. You can be a little bit of a polarizing figure at times.
Yeah.
But for me, when I watch you, sometimes you get like an offensive rebound and a dunk, and then the next possession you turn it over, and everybody's like, "Oh, what the fuck," you know. But for me, as a former coach as well, I look at it like, I would rather have that guy that does too much or is trying too much than to have to always say to that guy, "Come on, let's go, come on, let's go." It's my responsibility to coach, if you start fucking up, to take you out and say, "Hey, yo, calm the fuck down. and
Yeah.
then put you back in the game. But to have to always have to motivate somebody to feed passion to somebody, that's just not the way. So so I appreciate you as a player,
Yeah. Thank you.
and what you do for this team. And I want you to continue that. Whether you stay here or you go somewhere else, I'm sure you'll play the same way. But just keep doing what you're doing. But I'm not done with the questions before. I'm not saying goodbye yet. So
no, okay.
I got a couple more questions for you. These are quick answer questions.
Okay.
I'll give you like a phrase, and then you just tell me the first thing that pops in your head.
Okay.
The most difficult part of being a professional player.
Hold on. I need to just find the German, the
English or
hold on.
What is it in German? I know German. I speak German.
I know you're speaking German. I need to find a German word for this too. It's just to sacrifice. You say sacrifice?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically sacrifice. Yeah.
To like sacrifice in terms of.
Excuse me, it's be longer. It's easy and it's hard because it's easy because you know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But it's tough also because it takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
Yeah, you're missing birthdays, like you said, your dad's birthday.
Exactly.
You know, you're missing a lot of things
Yeah.
because you're doing what you love to do. Okay, I got you. Can you sing the Croatian national anthem?
Yes.
You can.
Yeah, of course. I have to.
Come on. A little bit. Come on.
Lijepa naša domovino. And the rest we sing when the national team is playing.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. That's probably a premiere that on a podcast that's a German player singing the Croatian national anthem. So I appreciate that premiere. Speaking of Croatian, I'm not going to tell you where I know this information, but I'm going to throw out a word or two words that probably only you understand.
I think it's two more guys here because we got Bogdan Radoslavljević and my cousin in the chat, so they got to probably understand it too.
Dobra guza.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to tell you where I know that or how I know that.
It don't matter.
I'm not going to tell you.
It's good for you. Now when we are somewhere and you say this, I know exactly what's happening.
So we're not gonna put me on blast right now. So I'm not gonna tell everybody what that means, but he knows what I mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Last one. This is a tough one.
Okay.
Kiss, marry, kill. You know that?
No.
You know that game? Kiss, marry, or kill? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So you got 3 teams. One you have to kiss, one you have to marry, and one you have to kill. The 3 teams are Alba, NBC, Braunschweig. I'm throwing you under the bus right now.
Okay. I kiss Berlin. I marry Braunschweig, and I what was the last one we said?
You got Berlin, Braunschweig, NBC.
Yeah, but what is it? So I kiss Berlin. I marry Braunschweig, and I kill NBC.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, yeah, man, that's it, man. That's all I got for you. You hit the shot at the buzzer. I really appreciate you coming on. And like I said, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is also for the European players out here to understand what it's like to change teams, to leave home, things like that. And I think you gave some valuable information as far as that's concerned, and what it takes to be a pro and things like that. And that's good stuff, man. I appreciate you for coming on. And you guys got 3 games left.
Exactly.
You know, I know you guys are trying to win them all.
Yeah.
You guys are on a good way.
Yeah.
You know, you took a big step.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Whenever you need, I'll be there again. Maybe we do a podcast one time live, me and you together somewhere with some mics, how the professionals are doing it.
Yeah.
And I'll be definitely in. So thanks for having me. And if somebody else asks you questions also after the live, just send it through and
gotcha.
I'll be ready to answer them.
Gotcha. So get on up out of here. I'm going to say goodbye to the people, and then I'm going to get out of here too. So I appreciate you, man.
You.
All right.
Bye.
So teammates, that's it. Another one in the books. My second one for this week. Next week, I'm back. I think I've got 1 episode next week. And I hope that you will tune in. And yeah, I think that was a really good episode. He really gave some good insight to what it's like to be a young player here in Germany and what it takes, and also moving away from home, what that takes. So I really appreciate him giving that point of view. Yeah, other than that, I'm out of here. Long week for me, 1 more day of work. And yeah, so I hope everybody's healthy. I hope your family is healthy. I hope you're healthy. And I hope to see you next week. Be on the lookout for who the next guest is. And yeah, that's it for me. Hold head out.